This is Blu Laker. This is Radio Tribune in Las Vegas, Nevada. And this show is Cobra, USA. So we're going to be talking about something that is in the news lately. As a matter of fact, it was in the news today. However, what I'm referring to is the war. Now, you might say, well, what war? What war are we in? Well, we're in a war with ISIS and radical Islamics. So, if we're in a war with ISIS, then we need to know, we need to be reminded of all the atrocities that have happened here in the United States, let alone what has happened worldwide. Because even though we've had close to 40 attacks here right in the United States, there are other countries who have done where ISIS has done even more damage. But today, in San Bernardino, there was a shooting. It does not look like it was terrorist related. It looks like it was a love situation. A man burst into a classroom, killed the teacher, and accidentally wounded a couple of the students, young children. No, it's not a terrorist-related act, as we know, or doesn't seem to be, anyway. But I'm not here to talk about what isn't an attack by ISIS, but what has been an attack by ISIS. Because it's a declared war against Christianity. That's right. It's Allah against God for control of this country. I might talk about some of the attacks or foiled attacks by the dates here in America. In 1977, we had the Hannah siege. In 1993, we had the World Trade Center bombing. Oh yeah, there was two of them. We didn't learn from the first one. And in 1994, we had the Brooklyn Bridge shooting. 1997, the murder of a prison guard by Harley Blair. In 2000, New York terror attack. 2000, Millennium attack plots. 2001, September 11 attacks. And 2002, Los Angeles airport shooting. 2002, Jose Padilla. And 2002, the Buffalo Six. Now we're going to go on and I'm going to tell you about the rest of them. But that's enough for now because I think you're getting the idea. We've had thousands of people killed here right in the United States by these radical Islamic Muslims. Oh, you might say, well, there's good Muslims too. Well, I'm sure there are. Unfortunately, they don't seem to be all good. And the problem we have is trying to discover which ones are and which ones aren't, and try and determine how we can stop future events from occurring. Well, sometimes it gets very difficult to distinguish them because we've had in San Bernardino, the last attack, here was someone who had been vetted, had security clearances, and was thought to be a model for America. Well, it turned out that he and his wife weren't. There were 14 people killed. Many others wounded. And so, even with the best vetting, we don't know what lies in the minds of evil people. And because of that, it becomes necessary for us to take extra precautions. Oh yeah, we can do body searches, cavity searches, all those things. That doesn't mean that it can't happen, because they're very determined. They don't have to carry it on their person. They could somehow or another manage to put it in a location, just like in the Boston Marathon, in trash cans. Many other places that they can conceal those weapons. And it doesn't take a lot if you have a plane and a cigarette lighter and you know what to do with it. Even a vial of hair tonic could cause a major disaster, fire, and so forth. So, is that the answer? Well, the answer is no, because if that were the answer, we would have already had this thing settled. And we saw what happened in Syria just a couple of days ago. But I have reservations about what happened in Syria, and I'm going to explain the reason why. You see, when we invaded Iraq, we were all convinced, all of us were convinced, that Saddam Hussein had done atrocities against his people, including poisoning, that he was an evil person, and his sons were just as bad, and perhaps even more ruthless. But we made a bad judgment there. Now you can say, well, thank God he's gone. Okay, well, thank God he's gone. But does that mean that he wasn't running a good country? When I say a good country, they had one of the best educational systems in the world. Saddam Hussein kept his people in mind. Now, we may not have liked the tactics that he used to do it, but if I just suppose for a second that that was the beginning of an Islamic radical movement, and we started it, we need to know and clarify and be positive beyond a shadow of a doubt that the people that we are accusing did it. Oh, you don't mind, and I don't mind taking care of those who have committed atrocities against children or civilians. We certainly don't mind that. After all, we don't want that to prevail in the world. However, the fact that we have been able to place the blame, we think we have been able to place the blame on the Syrian government. And I want to say, maybe that's the case. But do we know for sure that it was directly connected to the Syrian government? Not yet, we don't. We'd hate to find out later, like we did with Saddam Hussein, that he wasn't as guilty as they made him out to be, that he didn't have the chemical warfare, that he didn't use the chemical warfare, that he didn't have. He was all talk. But we got rid of him. Now, what happens is if we have another mistake in Syria? And I'm not saying that there's a mistake, because I don't know. But I would like clarification, real clarification on it. Okay, here's pictures, here's proof. The only place that you can get this stuff is there. How did the rebels bring it in? Oh, how did the rebels bring it in? Well, you see, I believe that just as the blame was placed in Iraq, that it is purely speculation, of course, but that we may not be targeting the right people, that the rebels are smart enough. Oh, remember, this is the same maybe not the same organization per se, but these are the same Muslims, radical Islamic Muslims, who attacked the Twin Towers in New York. 19 of them were from Saudi Arabia. Well, it makes, I think it makes a little sense to investigate why those Islamic radical Islamic terrorists came from Saudi Arabia. Because Saudi Arabia is supposed to be our quote-unquote ally. But it does make you wonder. And with so much fake news, if you were, if we are not sure, why are we pulling the trigger? Can we prove it? No, I don't think so, because there's been reports of, well, there was a Air Force bombing that Syria conducted, and right after that, then they discovered the poison. But then they also said that there was a drone that had hovered around the area where the poison was dropped. Now, both of them can't be right. Only one of them can be right, and we don't even know if that is the real proof, conclusive proof, because everybody knows there was an airstrike. Others have said the drones were there, or a drone was there. Now, it's no question that those people in those countries, they're intelligent people. They know how to operate drones. They know how to put them together. And the mere fact that they say, well, they were Syrian government drones, where's the proof? Did they get the drone? Did anybody see the drone dropping chemicals or anything that can conclude, that allow us to conclude, yes, not only were they dropped by the Syrian government, but they're the only ones that had the material. But let me tell you something. Even in a perfect situation, as we have found out here in the United States, we have had officers in the Army, Navy, and Air Force who have turned tail on us and killing American citizens. And unfortunately, they were Muslims or Muslim radicals. And so we can't really, in those cases, we definitely know who did it, the bullets and everything else. But I think that's still in limbo, that case, for some reason. I don't know why that hasn't been handled properly. What I'm getting back to is this. Because now Russia has said that along with Iran, if there's any further disturbances caused by the United States, they will react. Well, we don't know what that means, but it sounds like a pretty stern warning. Because while it certainly shows decisive action by our president, by Donald Trump, yes, it was very decisive. He said, boom, get it done. And we know that I don't want to say impulsive. I think he's rational and reasonable. And I would imagine he has pretty clear proof that it happened through the Syrian government. But just what if we're wrong? Intelligence has been wrong before. It will be wrong again. And we don't need a third world war. We don't even protect the borders of the United States. We don't even bother to close the borders. and we're worrying about some other country 3,000 miles away? I think Donald understands that, and I'm sure he tries to make rational decisions, but anybody, and I mean anybody, can make a mistake. I hope it's not a mistake, because the government of Syria and Mr. Assad say he didn't do it. Isn't that what happened in Iraq? He said he didn't do it. And we come to find out 5,000 dead Americans later, thousands and thousands of Americans wounded, that in fact we had no business going in there. So we need to be careful. We need to be careful. We need to consider who the real enemy is. If it's ISIS, then why are we supporting the rebels? Are the rebels trying to take control of that country? Well, yes, they are. It's 5 years now that they've been fighting. Now, if this was commonplace, it really doesn't make any common sense. Why would the president of Syria go out on the limb when he knows, having had previous warnings before, not to use chemical weapons, and we weren't sure that he did it even then, that he did it this time? It really doesn't make any sense. He knows that that's something that was stressed the last time the accusation came up. Why would he do that to intimidate the United States and other countries when he knows that that's the one thing that they haven't tolerated? Well, let's look at a more realistic answer and say, well, ISIS couldn't do that, could they? No, they're not that smart. Well, they are that smart. They have the weapons. They know that an incident like this is going to be heard around the world, and it's going to turn most people away from the Syrian government. And although I don't have first-hand knowledge, what I can say is when Assad got together with Vladimir Putin, it looked to me like the body language that Vladimir Putin had was indicating, to me at least, that he was waiting for them to come clean. That his body language was looking for an answer. That he wasn't there to, they're backing Syria. So they're not going to put themselves in a position of have worldwide anger against them. It's bad enough. But the rebels, on the other hand, had a very good reason. And while we don't know exactly who the people were that they attacked, of course, they were Syrians. But in Syria, there's different groups and organizations, the Sunnis, the Shiites, and so forth. And we don't know, we haven't been told at least, or at least I'm not aware of it, about who was attacked. Was it in fact some people from a different sect than ISIS, people who had opposed the ISIS movement? Wouldn't that make more sense? That they would do something like this because they knew the world would react, and we did. And I'm saying, I am from Missouri. I want to see the proof. I want to see how they came to that conclusion, where the materials came from, how it got there. Did it come in by drone? Did it come in by airplane? Did somebody walk it in? How did it happen? Yes, nobody likes to see women and children slaughtered. Nobody. Oh, unless, of course, they're your enemy. Then it doesn't make too much difference, does it? Does not make too much difference. Even in the Second World War, when Hitler committed atrocities against the Jewish people, put them in concentration camp and gassed them, men, women, and children. Oh yes, this is not something new. Oh, we probably have not seen the last of it either. Does it make it right? No. And what did we do ultimately with Hitler? Well, we pinned him down. We were about to eradicate him, but he did it himself. And so that got rid of the evil. No, we can say that he was an evil person because millions and millions of people were killed during the Second World War. Most of them Jews. Unfortunately, in the Middle East, that same set of circumstances exist. ISIS does not like Christians or Jews. Are we going to see a repeat of what happened in the Second World War? Well, we are seeing it. We're seeing people beheaded. We're seeing people slaughtered and thrown into mass graves. And very little is said. Oh, yes, with 35, maybe 40 now, atrocities here in the United States. We're seeing it even here on the home front. And it will continue until every one of them is gone. And how that's going to happen is way above my reckoning. But I do know that we need to protect ourselves to provide our own safety and welfare and the future of America by eliminating those who would try to eliminate us. Yes, it's sad, but these are the facts today. And to those of you that through a process of elimination we can make decent choices, then I'd say you need to try to understand the following. Does anybody running for public office have the financial ability to overcome political prejudice? Can they garner the electoral votes? Can they get the nonpartisans and independents together? Can they pull Christians from all parties? Are they willing to close the borders? Do they believe marriage is between a man and a woman? Do you think they can make America great again? How will they handle the monetary crisis? How will they deal with subsidies? How will they deal with birther babies? What is your answer to Russia And are they willing to negotiate with Putin? And what do we do about the Muslim problem? Muslims, the radical Muslims, are part of the Islam religion. What or how are we going to be able to bring people into this country, provide the subsidies, and try to bring down our own deficit? That's what I want to know. And when we bring them in, what's their position on immigration and citizenship? What is their position on prayer and religion in schools? Oh yes. Suppose they want Muslim or Islamic practices, Sharia, etc. What are they, or who are they going to support in their political platform? And what is their position on military intervention in other countries, including Syria, Iraq, Iran? In my opinion, we need to look at all of these questions when we are considering major issues. We are reminded constantly about Syria, the Middle East. Syria is a situation that's ongoing, of course, but it doesn't isolate it to Syria. We have it in a lot of those countries there, even Saudi Arabia, Iran, even where there's a Christian majority, there is a problem. And are they going after everybody? You know, like the ones that oppose them, for Muslims that oppose them? Oh, well, those people are probably smart enough to say, oh no, we're with you. But they certainly are going after the Christians, the Jews, and I guess the homosexuals. So what's your answer to it? Now, there's plenty more questions that deserve consideration. And we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to know what you think we should be doing. But for now, the questions that I've asked should at least provoke some simple thoughts on your part to try to make sense out of the current circumstances. Is there a way for us to get out of this and bring peace and tranquility to the world? There is. But remember this. You must have the numbers in order to do it. Right now, Christians and Muslims are still the majority, but not by much. Islam has spread throughout the world. Whether you believe it or I believe it is not of any consequence to them, because they believe it. And they show just how sincere they are with all of the sacrifices, human sacrifices they've made with suicide attacks. And do you think it's going to get any better? Do you think that the retaliation that we lay on them is the end of the story? No. Don't you think they're going to retaliate in some way, shape, or form? Haven't they said so? And is this just going to escalate totally out of control? Today, In the face of the proposed Islamic beliefs, Sharia, and the ideals expressed in the Quran, including the elimination of infidels, its religious beliefs, customs, and sanctuaries, we are forced to face the realities of recent events like 9/11, the Twin Towers, the Boston Marathon, Fort Hood, and others here in this country. The stoning of Christians in cities and towns right here in the U.S. of A., Dearborn, Michigan, for example. Our country and our belief in God binds us all together as a Christian nation. We find ourselves at odds with a religion diametrically opposed to those beliefs. It is this migration of Muslims that, if it continues to fester, will be a cancer within, out of control. The extremists amongst them who wish to annihilate us will bomb, shoot, or create dozens of 9/11 episodes at the bidding of Allah. By sheer numbers, they will move into the political system, creating whole communities, cities, and states controlled by Muslims. Is that what you want? Are you going to allow it, or are you finally going to get upset and try to do something about it? Now, contrary to one of Obama's statements that America is a Muslim nation already, we are not and choose not to be. We must stand ready to counter any such actions by electing the right people who, with godly people as Christians, will not tolerate the influx of any persons with their own agendas or designs for this country. Muslims or other nationalities must conform to our way of life, our language, customs, and laws, and not the other way around. Those with designs of slow, almost invisible infiltration to defeat our Constitution, the Bill of Rights, religious freedoms, and the destruction of the American way of life must be made aware of our ability to defend ourselves and this nation against any foreign aggression. We will not tolerate the takeover of America by those who would subdue, murder, or attempt to conquer us. Recent history clearly points to radical Islam extremists willing to give their lives in the name of Allah, as the records below show. They have orchestrated and killed more Americans on American soil than any other country except Mexico, with individual attacks rather than organized campaigns against religion. There certainly are a lot more questions that deserve consideration that we will have to deal with, but for now, these key questions allow us to conduct a small test and process for elimination, not just biased or personal innuendos, rumors, speculation, lies, personal or political assassination, intimidation, brainwashing, or organizational decrees, but truth with confirmed facts. Historically, there have been great presidents who did not have all the qualifications, who were not economists, had no foreign affairs experience, were not great speakers, eloquent, sophisticated, highly educated, flamboyant, or celebrated hearers. However, most were religious and Christians. Today, in the face of professed Islamic beliefs, of the ideals expressed in the Quran, including the elimination of the infidels and destruction of our religious sanctuaries, beliefs, and customs that bind us together as a Christian nation, if this migration of Muslims continue to fester, it will be a cancer within, out of control. The extremists among them who wish to annihilate us will bomb, shoot, or create dozens of 9/11 episodes at the bidding of Allah. By sheer numbers, they will move into the political system, creating worldwide communities, cities, and nations to fall to the hands of the Muslims. Now, this is Blu Laker at Radio Tribune, and this show is Cobra USA. If you have reason to doubt what was said today, call us. You can call me at 702-743-8297. Again, this is Radio Tribune in Las Vegas, Nevada. Our show airs every day, Monday through Friday, from about 2:30 to 3 o'clock, and that may be expanded here relatively soon. So I hope you have a great day. I hope things are brighter and that you can help make America strong again. It is united that we stand and divided that we fall. Don't let it fester. Thank God. God bless.